Oh guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended. And in this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of things that are increasing your FPS and increase the quality of game that you have and make it a little bit of a better experience. So whether or not you have high settings or low settings, these are things you can turn on or off in order to make your game run much smoother, like percentage gaps. I'm going to start off right now with 5 major things that you can do inside, and then I'll do another 10 after that will also help you. But these first 5 are going to help you on such a ridiculous level. It's almost funny. Like, we're talking 10-ish% better performance per one of these things that I'm showing you right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do stat FPS so you can see what I'm talking about. Oops, stat FPS. If you didn't know what stat FPS does, is in the middle right of my screen. Essentially what it does is it opens up a FPS tracker. You can see that I'm currently at 45. So the first command that we're going to do is r.contact shadows. Wow, I just typed in contract. r.contact shadows. Now, if you type in 0, what this is going to do is it's going to prevent things from causing shadows. Now, this is going to jump up the FPS, and if you put it at 0, you'll notice that everything tends to get a little bit brighter. Now, this increases mine, so it's consistently sitting, I don't know, a couple FPS higher, but notice how that burning wave is going to cause that problem. But that's kind of the point of this. So when I'm not having that burning wave that's causing the whole, screen to shake, it's going to increase really, just a lot. So, but I can also get rid of that superheat. Stop superheat. Wow, you're not going to do that for me? Stop superheat. Superheat. Wow. PC stop superheat. There we go. All right, so it's going to actually reduce the actual temperature, so it allows it to get a little bit more of an FPS boost. Now, obviously, you can still see in the distance it's causing that, but not a big deal. So let's move on to the next one. So that's going to be a huge one for you. So r.dynamic, and there's a lot of commands that have this one. Global illumination method, and what you're going to do is type in 0. So you can see that essentially global illumination can be baked into maps. It's going to essentially just change a few of the things for illumination. You can see that it kind of immediately made a big difference. We're at 53 FPS right now. So that's another good chunk of percentage right now that we've gained. And it doesn't look that much worse. It actually looks just fine. Now we're also going to go and do another one, r.lumen. Notice how there's a ton of lumen commands. .reflections. See where it says allow r.reflection or r.lumen .reflections .allow, then you're going to go and hit space, and then you're going to hit 0. Now what this is going to do is it's essentially, notice how we're going to get a little bit more FPS. We're climbing into the 53 range, and it's just going to cause the light reflections to be removed. Again, the game looks just fine still. There's no major differences. You're noticing that I can kind of turn a little bit better, and I'm still sitting in the 50s instead of dropping into the low 40s. So that's a pretty big difference. Now we're going to move again, another big one. So and these are on, by the way, I'm on max settings. Shadow.csm. Now this is a big one, and max cascades. Now this is the number of cascades that will render dynamic directional light shadows. Now if you set this to 0, it's another one of our little boosts that we're going to use. You'll notice kind of a little bit of a difference, and it's going to climb up. See how we're hitting 51 now, kind of moving around just a little bit, and these are big changes. So next up, r.nanite. Now here's another one, nanite.max pixels per edge. Now this one right here, you can do however you want. My recommendation is to set it to 4, and notice how that is an immediate thing that changes it. Now we're sitting in the 60s, right? So if I'm moving around, there's 63, and essentially that just changes the triangles that you're seeing. Now again, it doesn't really make a major difference with your game, in my opinion. It seems to be pretty, like, these are like, you're still having a map, if that makes sense, and I still have a pretty good looking game. And I'm sitting in the high 60s right now. If I turn, depending on the way I'm looking, now we're sitting at 70. And if I look way off into the distance, and my view distance is maximum, I'm still sitting in the middle 50s ish. Now, those are 5 really strong ones. Now, if you don't mind, if this is helping you a little bit, even if you're using some of these commands, smack that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. Now I'm in the heat, so it's going to cause me to take a little bit of additional damage. So I'm going to go ahead and hide my character just for a second here. Because I don't really want to do that. I'll just go into GCM mode. That'll make it a little bit easier, so we don't have to worry about some of this stuff. So now that that's gone away, that should save us quite a bit. So now we're sitting in the mid 50s. and I want to go to the next one. So this one is another one that's kind of r.density scale, and then it's basically the multiplier on grass densities. If you set that to 0, give it a couple of seconds to kick in, but this is going to set your FPS off a little bit. You can see 60, we've just made a massive jump. Now we can also run some commands like r. This is a hilarious one, so I'm going to show you r.grass size scale. I can set this to like 10, and it's going to make grass insanely high. Notice that. Oop. Kind of crazy, right? Now I can also, if you really want to mess with this grass dot size scale again, you can set that to 0. If you set it to 0, it's again going to give you another little bit of a boost, and we're sitting at the high 60s right now, so just keep watching that FPS tracker. Now next one we're going to type in is show.instanced grass, and some of these can be used in combination. Wow, did I just type it in wrong? I'm just going to type it in this way, instanced. And then we're going to type in grass, see it. So show, I don't know why I was doing dot, whatever. It's just my brain. Show.instance grass or show instance grass. I guess show space instance grass, and it's going to hide more grass. And then what we can do directly after that is show instanced foliage. And you can see that right there. And that's going to hide the foliage on the map that is now again, this is hiding stuff you can pick up, but if you're going for max FPS, we're sitting at 70 right now. And you can toggle pretty much all of this. We're going to go ahead and go to show instanced static meshes, and we're going to go ahead and you can see static message. Now that does make a major difference, but obviously you're causing big problems at that point, so keep that in mind. But again, these are commands. We're looking for maximum, right? I'm sitting at almost 80 right now, but just to show you what they do. Now we can do r.volumetric. Now volumetric cloud is a very good command to get rid of because it's going to get rid of the clouds. Again, we're sitting at 95. Now let's go ahead and r.volumetric. Now instead of doing cloud, we're going to go ahead and type in fog this time. And basically it's going to toggle that feature, r.volumetric fog. Notice how we're in the middle 90s right now. And then we can go and type in shadow quality. You can do r.shadow quality is probably one of the best ones. And I'm going to type 0 into that. Shadow quality is now 0. We're sitting at 110. Now, again, these are all commands. You can do whatever you want with this information, by the way. So use the ones that are going to help you. I want to mention that. Now we're also going to do water dot, oh man, single layer and 0. Now, essentially what that does is it takes the reflections off of water, and it prevents water from having any reflections, so it just exists on your map. Notice how on high settings, technically, I'm sitting in 100 and solidly into 100 FPS, so that's not a problem. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is r.material quality level. You can see it up there. You can scroll to it. 0 corresponds to 0. Now, again, this could cause problems, but they mostly removed all of this anyways, so it's not going to be able to change much. So again, you can see that we are very bare bones inside of Ark right now, but you can pretty much see through anything. That's kind of a little bit of an unfair thing, but I can like cruise across the map and hover above 70 FPS. Now, that is all the commands. Now I'm going to quickly talk about what you can turn on and off in order to make your life just a little bit easier. So obviously you see that show static meshes. Well, show static message. This one, these two obviously make major differences, right? So you want to be careful about this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. By the show instanced static meshes, that essentially removes all mountains. By adding those back in, I've essentially added back in part of the lore of Ark, and I've kind of just kept some of the basics out. Now, another thing is you probably want to have the show instanced foliage command on, because the show instanced foliage command is going to remove things that you can pick up. So notice how those go back in, and anything that I can pick up is now on the map, but things that I can't pick up are not on the map. So rocks, you can see I got the cactuses down there, plants, things like that that can be picked up are nearby. So those make major differences. Just by turning everything that I just had off and then turning those two things back on, I'm consistently sitting in the mid 90s, right? So this is on high settings, ultra settings actually across the board. So these are major things that matter a ton. So things that you can do to kind of increase this, the quality of this without noticing too much of a difference is changing the shadows just a little bit, right? So those contact shadows, and you can just type in shadow and you can get a lot of those shadow commands. You can see the show dynamic shadows that can be useful. Anything with shadows that we're turning on and off is essentially going to make the game look prettier. But honestly, you can play it like this For those of you that are on console commands, by the way, those of you that are using those console commands, the ones that I just showed you, you can just type those in by hitting escape, going into console command, and then you can type in whatever command you want. I can type in, let's just type in, I have to click on the thing. I forgot about that. Let's remove or add back in, let's just say grass, right? So show instanced, and then type in grass, show instance grass, and then you hit enter, and it'll bring grass back slowly back into your game. Now, again, these are things that you can all enter those commands as long as you type them in correctly. So how I would do it if I was you, just go back to the time that I was talking about, look in the bottom left side of my screen to what I was typing, and that's probably your best method in order to go through all of these commands. Now, all of them are pretty useful. I would definitely use those first 5 that I talked about: the contact shadows, the dynamic global illumination, the lumen.reflections.allow, shadow.csm.max cascades, nanite.max pixels per edge. And those are the big chunky ones that you're not going to notice a whole heck of a lot, but they make a big difference. And then the ones that actually change your gameplay are going to be the ones that I kind of listed after talking about those 5, with its density scale of grass, the grass size scale, the show instance grass, show instance foliage, show instance static message, volumetric cloud, volumetric fog, shadow quality, water.single layer, which again kind of just makes it so you don't have reflections on water, and then r.material quality level, which I think they removed from the game because I just entered that one and it didn't do anything. But you can use all of those commands in combination with whatever feels good for you, and especially people that are on console. I highly recommend it because you are going to get, I mean, even though it's not the prettiest, it still looks like it's running just fine right now, but I'm averaging 76 frames per second, which makes me very happy. So definitely keep that on your plate. So the one thing that does suck is every time you go back into the Ark, you're going to have to run those commands again. So what you can do is copy and save them somewhere, literally copy paste, as long as there's an enter between each one of them, or you can put a, what's it called? A little bracket thing between each one, and that'll apply them all at the same time. So that should help a ton. And hopefully this video helps you out. If you have any other questions, let me know and I'll do my best to answer. So anyways, hopefully this video helps out. Teach.